is here. Let's pick up a book and be on our way to the moon above, or fly like a dove. Book adventures can't take us anywhere, cause with these stories I'm here to share. Story, I got a story to tell. Story, I got a story to tell. Story, I got a story to tell. Story time with Summer.
Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime with Summer. And did you know this month was Black History Month? Well, it is. And this month for Storytime with Summer, we'll be doing people that had an impact on Black history. Today we have Malcolm Little, but he's better known as Malcolm X. Let's jump right in. Malcolm Little, the boy who grew up to become Malcolm X, by Ilyasah Shabazz, daughter of Malcolm X, illustrated by A.G. Ford. Malcolm X was one of the most influential men in American history. But before he became Malcolm X, he was Malcolm Little. Malcolm was born on May 19, 1925, in the small Midwestern town of Omaha, Nebraska. He was born into a tight-knit family with parents who not only encouraged his natural curiosity as a boy, but also taught him lessons about discipline, fortitude, and self-determination. Malcolm's father was Earl Little, but there was nothing little about him. Papa Earl was a strong, broad, and towering man. His smooth, dark skin was as beautiful as the midnight sky. His voice resounded like gentle thunder whenever he spoke. His protection and guidance stretched up around his family like the great live oak trees in his home state of Georgia. Malcolm's mother was Louise Norton. Louise was born in the island country of Grenada, West Indies. It was a place known as the Spice Island, where the sweet smell of nutmeg and cocoa swirled together in the tropical air. Louise was a bright student who excelled at reading and math. She began asking questions at an early age about the mistreatment of people of color in her hometown. After Louise graduated from school, she left for Montreal, Canada, to join her uncle Edgerton, who was a co-founder of the Marcus Garvey movement. Followers of Garvey believe that all humans are created equal. In Montreal, Louise met the giant gentleman named Earl Little. Both of them had traveled to Montreal, focused on joining the struggle for freedom and justice. Earl and Louise were soon married. The happy couple moved to the rural Midwest and soon became the parents of 7 children: Wilford, Hilda, Filbert, Malcolm, Reginald, Yvonne, and Wesley. Earl and Louise cherished their family and instilled in their children values of faith in God and self-love, of honesty and integrity, and of brotherhood and equality. The little children were happy and romped endlessly around the little home and land in Omaha, Nebraska. Malcolm was the middle child, and Malcolm was different. He was full of questions, a natural leader, and a fun-loving prankster. And along with his brothers and sisters, he was always up to something. When Malcolm was 4 years old, something horrifying happened that he would never forget. One night, while the little family was sound asleep and the percussive hiss-hum of the cricket song whistled quietly in the darkness, the loud crackle of a blazing fire awakened them. Terror clutched Malcolm's heart as he realized the blaze was consuming their home. Fortunately, Malcolm and his family escaped the raging inferno, and they watched in disbelief as their beloved home burned to the ground. They would later learn that the flames had been set by townspeople who disagreed with their family's belief about the universal equality and justice. The fire was a sad sign of ignorance and intolerance. But nothing would stop Earl and Louise Little from moving forward. Despite the great loss of their house and all their belongings, they vowed to rebuild their lives armed not with material possessions, but instead with optimism and faith. After all, Earl and Louise knew that possessions come and go, but faith, love, and perseverance would sustain them. Earl purchased 6 acres of land in Lansing, Michigan, and set out to build a new home for his family. He would construct it with his own hands from the ground up. Earl built the house nail by nail and brick by brick, only buying a new piece of hardware when he had enough money to pay for it. "Papa," Malcolm asked, "how come we don't have windows in our house?" Earl answered with total confidence, "Son, when we can afford the glass, our frames will be filled." He leaned over to look squarely into Malcolm's eyes. All good things begin with a fundamental structure. From that moment on, whenever Malcolm felt the wind blow through those empty window frames, instead of wondering when the glass would come, he would think of his father's unstoppable optimism and faith. Malcolm's father would preach about faith, self-reliance, and hard work to throngs of people gathered at local churches and assemblies. The grown-ups in the audiences listened intently, their eyes fixed on Earl, their ears on his words, and their souls on his message. With arms raised high and eyes piercing with sincerity, Earl Little stirred the deepest parts of their beings. Malcolm felt the electricity in the room as the dignity and self-respect of those in attendance would steadily rise. The meetings were charged with the group's collective desire to create their own opportunities and to lead better lives. Malcolm's father reminded them that they were not merely the descendants of slaves, but that their African ancestors built some of the greatest civilizations ever recorded in history, and that they too could stand together to build a bright future for their children. These were lessons in hope and self-determination that Malcolm would grow to love. Malcolm sat with rapt attention as his father's uplifting message proclaimed freedom, justice, and equality for all. And just as Malcolm found inspiration from his father's speeches at church, he learned some unexpected lessons from his mother's garden at home. For Malcolm, the enchanted garden of Louise Norton Little was an entire world of its own, where even the most sluggish of ladybugs and the fastest scurrying ants were all equally treated, like esteemed and welcome guests at family Sunday brunch. Here, savvy spiders busily crocheted their delicate webs along the foliage, allowing the strong Midwestern sunshine to cast pretty patterned shadows on the soft earth below. Geraniums dotted the field in the distance with peppy pops of pink and purple as the crisp blue sky and lush green field connected somewhere far out in the horizon. In this sacred garden, beetles hustled about like harried businessmen on their way to important meetings, while snails lolled leisurely as if they were on some kind of half-speed permanent vacation. Here Louise taught her children to love every living creature equally, large or small, pretty or ugly, busy or still, fast or slow, insect or plant. The garden was a testament to true and unconditional brotherhood from the earth on up to the sky, a daily lesson in acceptance and equality. Each living creature had a story, a purpose, a reason for being, and a beauty of its own. Through the majestic trees in the garden, Malcolm would also learn about the importance of roots, nature's anchors, the base of every living creature, and through the outspread wings of the chirping birds above, he began to see the power of possibility. And so this special garden became a source of knowledge, a little family sanctuary where lessons came each day like tiny droplets of sweet morning dew. Because Louise knew that the best way to teach a child was to give him or her a chance. So she gave each of her children their very own little plot of land in the garden, where they would take care of their designated areas like proud and professional mini farmers. Malcolm and his siblings learned to plant, water, trim, till, and harvest the crops, which in turn planted the seeds for hard work and their sense of self-reliance. With their shovels and watering pitchers in hand, they nourished their crops and cared for their herbs, fruits, and vegetables as they would for any other living creature, with intention, dedication, and love. Malcolm's favorite vegetable to grow were peas. He would spend hours in the garden methodically, combing through the rows of seedlings and sprouts, his little fingers digging ferociously into the warm earth, making sure there were no earthworms squirming around down there.